skiing really translates well in all the different sports I do. And you know, I'm very thankful for learning to ski at such a young age, because it's made getting into any other sport that much easier. I mean, the balance, being able to, you know, huck stuff at, you know, going really big and being able to handle high speed has really made it easy for me to transition into big wave surfing, you know, snowboarding, or even kiteboarding. I mean, it was just these sports that have a lot of speed and you're dealing with big air or big drops. Skiing was like the perfect foundation to go from.
Over the years, Chuck has garnished plenty of ink and honors for his skills.
We have got several covers like on Powder magazine, Ski magazine, also in snowboarding, and then also held the record for the biggest cliff jump back in the day for 142 feet in skiing, which has now been broken like no problem because the young kids are on fire.
For Chuck, the light went on in his head during this memorable time.
I guess the one thing in skiing that always kind of was stuck in my mind was the first cover shot that I got at Powder magazine, and it came out on my birthday. Then the photographer basically, you know, came over to my house and said, you know, happy birthday, and gave me this envelope with the magazine in it, and there I was, and that's something that I'll always remember, that kind of was like the pinnacle of like, hey, you know what, way to work hard and actually get something awesome out of skiing.
As a kid, Chuck always had a huge love for the ocean, which drew him to Maui in the off-season.
I think the transition for me into being a waterman started, gosh, a long time ago. I mean, even with all the skiing that I did, I always had a huge love for the ocean when I was a kid. Always went to the beach. You know, the ocean held a huge part for me just to get ready for skiing, and I think skiing did the same thing for me getting back into the ocean. I think the one big thing that attracted me to big wave surfing was the sense of freedom and the sense of challenge that I got also in skiing. And they kind of, you know, were a little bit of the same. I mean, to be able to come off of a big cornice in Alaska and arc a couple giant GS turns was the same as dropping in on a big wave at either Mavericks or at Jaws. The whole wave skiing idea started probably 15 years ago, where Shane McConkey and I always talked about it, and being that I spent all my falls and part of my winters, you know, surfing big waves, he said, this is so up your alley, you should basically grab some water skis and ski a giant wave like what we do in the mountains. And that idea resonated for a long time because we always thought it was kind of funny. And then I ended up getting a pair of jumper water skis that had no side cut or anything, and had Dave Kalama tow me into a couple waves, and all I could do was go straight. So in my head, I had this vision of turning like what we do when we're, you know, skiing. The technology or the design wasn't really there, so I kind of let it go and didn't really think much of it. And then I had Mike Douglas and Cody Townsend put a little homework into it, and they kind of opened up the whole skiing idea again on the water, and they came here to Maui and spent a couple months, you know, doing research and development, coming out with some new boards, and then came out with this really cool video. And then of course it was sent to me, and I was like, okay, the designs have changed, I want back in. And so those guys got me hooked up. I got a new pair of skis made. And I said, you know what, I definitely can do something big with this. And so I went Northern California, where we tow on a big day, and ended up grabbing the pair of new skis that I had, pulled behind of a jet ski, and dropped into my first wave probably 9 years ago. And it was exactly the way I pictured it. In fact, the same way as Shane McConkey and I used to joke about. And it worked insane.
Over a period of training on decent-sized waves, Chuck felt it was time to up his game and give the legendary Jaws a go.
That's pretty much brought me out to where we are here today, you know, in Hawaii, and you're a little nervous at first. You're looking back at the wave that's behind you starting to build up, and you look at your partner and he knows what you're thinking, and He gets you down the wave and he looks back, gives one more look, and then he basically does a real hard turn to the right. And I hold on, get as much speed as possible, and then I basically let go of the rope. And then it's all about skiing and keeping that speed and the drive in the bottom turn and making it to the safety of the channel. Yeah, I mean, you got butterflies every time you make a big wave. I put a ton of time in skiing at Jaws, and that to me was like the Alaska of water skiing, so to speak. And this last couple days, we had a couple really big swells, and you know, to be able to tow in on a pair of water skis among the surf, you know, community is totally whacked out and crazy. But coming from a ski background and doing that my entire life, it made complete sense, and it worked incredibly well.
Whether it be on snow or water, one thing is for sure, Chuck will be pushing the envelope and charging hard.